Paul's attorney says he was out of state and not at his Calabasas home during that raid today. The FBI says they're investigating allegations of criminal acts.
Today, YouTube star Jake Paul is making headlines after an FBI raid at his home in Calabasas. Sky 5 was over the scene Wednesday morning as federal agents entered Paul's home in a gated community off Mulholland Highway. 24 feds, some in tactical gear, could be seen carrying evidence from the property, including several firearms. After the search, a SWAT team was seen leaving in a procession of law enforcement vehicles.
All right, so I keep getting pulled back to one name in this whole chaotic saga, and that name is Anthony Joshua. Because that night, the one where he stepped into the ring, it wasn't just another win, it was something far more disturbing. It genuinely felt like he accidentally, and I mean accidentally, smashed through a massive wall nobody even knew existed. People didn't fully grasp the magnitude of what was happening, or what his ultimate fate would be in that moment. And here's the part that makes it even stranger. He absolutely did not plan for it to unfold that way. There was no pre-existing rivalry fueling him, no calculated attempt to grab attention or ignite a huge drama. It was simply a highly skilled fighter doing his job with incredible precision and focus. But the aftermath, oh man, that's where everything truly cracked wide open. He inadvertently left behind a trail, a situation that no high-powered PR team, no shrewd lawyer, and no carefully worded interview could ever hope to polish over or spin away. Once the public finally saw the full picture, once that crucial piece of the puzzle clicked into place, the entire illusion surrounding the situation shattered, and any hope of cleanup became utterly, devastatingly impossible.
Did you start to take your foot off the gas just a little bit because you knew he was tiring out?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely a bit. You know, I wanted to give the fans a show, but I didn't want to hurt someone that didn't need to be hurt.
Did you carry Mike?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. Yeah, like there was a point where, you know, I was just like, okay, he's not really engaging back. And so I don't know if he's tired or whatever, and I could just tell, you know, his age was showing a little bit, and I just have so much respect for him. And that like violence war thing between us, like after he slapped me, I wanted to, you know, be aggressive and take him down and knock him out and all that stuff, but that kind of went away as the round.
Jake Paul's entire carefully constructed career, every single move was fundamentally built on an almost obsessive level of control. We're talking about control over every aspect, who he stepped into the ring with, precisely how every story about him was framed and told to the public, and most importantly, how his legions of fans ultimately perceived him. For years, this meticulously designed system worked like a charm, a well-oiled machine churning out success. That is until Miami, where we witnessed 6 chaotic, brutal rounds unfold. And you could almost literally watch that iron grip of control slip away, disappearing right before your eyes in real time. His face, etched with a raw mix of exhaustion and something like desperation, truly told the heartbreaking story of that night. And you know what? The people closest to him, the ones in his inner circle, felt it too, that gut-wrenching sinking feeling you get when the very foundation you've built your world upon begins to visibly crack and crumble. And that, my friends, is exactly what we're witnessing right now. It's unfolding frame by painful frame, and people keep asking with increasing urgency why the FBI side of this evolving story feels so fundamentally different from everything that came before it. The simple, stark reality is this: federal agents, unlike the media or the public, don't care one bit about social media hype, influencer popularity, or viral trends. Their job is cold, hard fact-finding. They relentlessly follow paper trails, scrutinize betting lines, track the intricate flow of money, and uncover every hidden connection. Once gambling, especially suspicious gambling, enters the frame, the entire tone of the narrative changes, and it changes fast. That's precisely when it stops being just another piece of influencer drama and starts sounding alarmingly like something far more serious: organized fraud. And anyone who has ever been even remotely near that kind of storm, anyone who understands the gravity of federal investigations, knows with absolute certainty that it doesn't just quietly fade away.
Versus Mike Tyson was 100% scripted. Mike Tyson repeatedly bit his boxing glove throughout the fight. When fights are scripted, fighters do weird gestures to signal that they're hurt. It's very possible Mike Tyson was biting on his glove to tell Jake Paul to calm down. Now, if that's not enough proof that this fight was scripted, in the middle of the fight, Mike Tyson is literally talking to Jake Paul while...
Now, let's be clear about Logan Paul. He isn't stupid. And that's exactly what makes this whole unfolding disaster feel so much more terrifying in a cold, unsettling way. Smart, capable people, the ones who usually have their lives under control, only start sweating when they're staring at something so undeniable that they realize, with a jolt, there's no way to talk their way out of it. That sudden, uncharacteristic silence that's settled in. The strained, almost forced smiles he keeps flashing in public. The word-for-word, robotic caution in his recent interviews. Every single detail screams damage control at a fever pitch, not confidence or certainty. I've seen this pattern repeat itself countless times, whether in high-stakes business, cutthroat sports, or ruthless politics. It's that exact moment when powerful people finally hear the sickening thud of reality. The walls they believed were impenetrable are actually crumbling. And then, just when things were already teetering, Mike Tyson's name suddenly enters the conversation. That was the tipping point, when fans worldwide stopped laughing and started paying serious attention. They were watching a 60-year-old legend act in ways that didn't match decades of instinct, and it hit them like a gut punch when they began replaying the footage. Not reacting emotionally anymore, but analyzing. The questions started multiplying faster than anyone could keep up with.
A crazy fight because of the weight differences. The weight difference in there, I only know one man that'll do the weight difference like that, and that's the Bronze Bomber. For me, in my opinion, I think it's scripted a little bit because, of the weight difference, and Joshua is a former champion, and also he's current, he's active, and this is going to be the first time that we see Paul fighting an active fighter. We seen the Mike Tyson, that was all fun, that was cute, it's fun and games and stuff, but now you're dealing with a real professional.
Eddie Hearn's response, interestingly, managed to say a lot without actually saying much at all. Promoters are masters at walking that thin, gray line, navigating controversies with carefully chosen words and strategic silences. But this time, his tone and demeanor sounded like someone desperately trying to get ahead of something monumental, something huge about to explode. When he said, "We'd be investigated if this was fixed," my immediate thought was, why would he phrase it like that? Unless the idea of an investigation, or the possibility of something being fixed, was already floating in the room like a dark cloud. And then there's the infamous Tyson script leak. To this day, it still doesn't sit right with many people. The issue wasn't that it matched perfectly word for word. No, the discomfort came because enough of it lined up, enough pieces fit together to feel disturbingly real. Real scandals aren't slick or flawless. They're messy, slightly off-kilter, full of awkward moments and loose ends, yet close enough to the truth to sting with undeniable force. That's exactly why this story hit so hard. It didn't feel like fanfiction spun out of thin air. It felt like a disturbingly plausible working plan. And once that seed of doubt took root, Anthony Joshua's earth-shattering knockout of Ananya poured fresh gasoline on the rumor mill, making the whispers spread faster than anyone could contain.
The agreement about, hey, you need to get the fight into this round, you need to carry him for X amount of rounds, you need to do your part to get it into the 5th, 6th, or whatever.
Absolutely no way ever. I mean, if you look at a couple of the right hands that AJ missed with in the first couple of rounds, like, they would have done the same job on Jake's jaw if they would have landed. And Jake did very well to avoid them. So I always said going into the fight, AJ's not the kind of guy that's going to come out like a train, just start swinging away. He's going to take his time, and that's what he did. The fight definitely went a few more rounds than anticipated from Anthony, but it's like, even now, it's like, yeah, it was definitely a fix. Some guy commented today on one of my posts, yeah, it was definitely a fix. I go, you do know that he's broken his jaw in 2 places.
When the seasoned boxing veteran Paulie Malignaggi finally spoke out about Jake Paul and the surrounding controversy, it didn't sound like bitterness, as some might have expected from a former rival. Instead, his words carried a strange sense of relief, almost like someone who was finally free to openly say what they truly thought and felt. And believe me, that shift in tone matters. Because when respected, real fighters who have devoted their lives to the sport stop defending the manufactured hype and begin to side with the fans and the pursuit of integrity, the entire ecosystem changes. Credibility, which is fragile and precious in this industry, visibly shifts hands right in front of everyone. And if that wasn't enough, Nikisa Badirian's interviews afterwards certainly didn't calm any concerns. In fact, they made things worse. The more he spoke, the more the whole operation felt overtly defensive, as if they were desperately trying to bat away uncomfortable truths. You cannot, if you want to maintain public trust, claim the sport is riddled with shady dealings and then in the next breath declare we're clean and expect people to just nod along. That's not reassurance. It's a glaring inconsistency. Instead, it becomes a stark, unsettling reminder of how dirty and compromised this game can become when the intoxicating allure of fame and the raw, unyielding nature of fighting start to blend indistinguishably into one another.
California mansion has been raided by the FBI. Multiple news organizations report. You can see in this aerial footage agents in uniform outside his home in Calabasas. Attorney told Reuters he would cooperate with the federal investigation.
What's it gonna look like after his boxing career?
People think I do steroids and all this shit, so I have a plan. Because I think it's fucking bizarre. That's like the only excuse they can come up with is like rigged fights. Jake Paul does steroids. So after boxing, I'm gonna do a cycle of steroids to show people what Jake Paul on steroids actually looks like, because I want to shut people the
Jake Paul's casual joking about steroid use might very well go down as one of the biggest, most ill-advised mistakes of his entire career. Even if he meant it casually, even if it was just a throwaway line, it was like handing his fiercest critics a fully loaded weapon, aimed and ready to fire. When your reputation is already under constant attack, when you're facing a non-stop barrage of accusations and scrutiny, that kind of confident bravado can quickly start to sound less like self-assurance and more like an unintentional confession. Instead of providing clarity or trying to clear the air, his ill-timed joke only made everyone, from casual observers to seasoned experts, ask the uncomfortable question: why would someone already accused of cheating casually joke about performance-enhancing drugs? That, my friends, is not the tone of an innocent man. And then there's the persistent Veda testing issue surrounding his fight with Tommy Fury. It never truly disappeared. It was just temporarily buried beneath a flood of new headlines and distractions. But now it's back, louder than ever. Because hindsight, that unforgiving lens, connects dots people either ignored or couldn't see clearly before. Suddenly, declining tougher, more rigorous testing doesn't look like strategy. It looks evasive. And when that's paired with physical changes that are increasingly hard to ignore, even neutral observers began to notice and acknowledge what fans were already whispering in hushed tones.
Once in Jake Paul's career been any talk of that sort, of anything to do with the fight being anything but a real fight that has exactly the same situation as any professional fight. And that's exactly the same thing here for the Anthony Joshua fight. It's just beyond mind-blowing that people would think that. Anthony Joshua was on record saying that if he didn't finish him in the first round, that would be disappointing, that it would be a failure. The narrative changed as we got closer to fight night and obviously post-fight, and I understand why, but they were pretty adamant it would take max 2 rounds.
After the pivotal Joshua fight, something undeniable and almost eerie happened across the entire landscape. The relentless jokes, the quick-witted memes that once dominated the conversation, all of it suddenly dried up, evaporating into thin air. Fans, instead of being entertained, transformed into meticulous digital detectives, spending countless hours slowing down replays, comparing timelines, and analyzing every detail with a forensic intensity. Once that shift in engagement happens, once the audience starts scrutinizing rather than consuming, the show in its original form is over. At that point, the narrative shifts from entertainment to something far more serious: accountability. The shocking Calabasas raid by federal agents sealed that shift in public perception. Those helicopter shots, broadcast across every outlet, showing agents carrying boxes and evidence out of Jake Paul's mansion, instantly became the defining image of the entire ordeal. You cannot, no matter how hard you try, counter such powerful, visceral visuals with charity posts or motivational talks. That footage alone, in its raw, unfiltered impact, rewired how people perceived him. And it did so regardless of what charges, if any, may ultimately come next.
Thoughts on Jake going 6 rounds with AJ? You know, the fact that he did that, it was good because, you know, we didn't think it was going to go 6 rounds. We thought it was going to go 2. So the fact that he made 6 rounds is an accomplishment for Jake Paul.
Was there anything that stuck out with you from the fight?
Yeah, really, who was in better shape? I thought that Joshua was in great shape compared to, you know, Jake Paul because he was running.
And let me tell you, that kind of relentless scrutiny and pressure drains an enormous amount of energy, especially when you're not used to navigating such treacherous waters. This whole situation has escalated faster than anyone could have imagined, shifting from seemingly harmless influencer boxing matches to a full-blown heavyweight meltdown, and now to the serious attention of federal authorities. Somewhere along that turbulent line, someone, or maybe many, actually believed this rapidly expanding empire couldn't collapse, that it was too big to fail. But history always teaches us that this exact belief is how every downfall begins. In stark contrast, Anthony Joshua walks away from this spectacle with his name not just intact, but arguably cleaner and more respected than ever. He remains a champion who did his job, showed his skill, and then professionally moved on. Jake Paul, however, does not get that clean escape. His entire public identity, his brand, was built on proving everyone wrong, defying expectations, and silencing critics. And now, in a brutal twist, those same critics have become the overwhelming mainstream voice, their skepticism amplified and legitimized. That, my friends, is an incredibly brutal spotlight to live under. Boxing itself suffers too. Each new scandal reopens old wounds, reminding loyal fans why they stopped trusting the sport years ago. Honest fighters, the ones who pour their hearts into the game, lose credibility they never deserved to lose. And let's be absolutely clear, this story is far from finished. Quiet investigations do not, I repeat, do not mean nothing is happening behind the scenes. They mean influential people are talking, deals are being made, and strategies are being planned behind closed doors. Leaks rarely appear by accident. They emerge when the dance of deals and desperate damage control creates cracks for information to seep through. That is usually the ominous start of something big, not its quiet conclusion. Paul may try to reinvent himself again, but the timeline, the digital footprint, is permanent now. The internet doesn't forget. It saves, tracks, and waits for the next crucial piece of this complex puzzle to drop. And when it does, it will hit harder than before, because so many people wrongly believed the storm had passed. I'm not wishing failure on anyone, but accountability is coming, and it's coming fast. And right now, no one, absolutely no one, knows which door it's going to crash through first. This isn't closure. It's the unsettling calm before another potentially much larger explosion.